Thomas Whitaker stepped out into the early morning light to find his 6-year-old son, Adam Whitaker, digging in the backyard. Adam had scooped soil into several small mounds, 3 perfect cones, then stood proudly, only to knock them down again with glee. He repeated this over and over, completely absorbed in the cycle. Thomas smiled quietly. He knew this curiosity was natural, but he also worried. Adam was spending hours piling and unpiling dirt effort with no lasting result. When Adam collapsed into the grass, covered in dirt from head to toe, Thomas sat beside him. "That looked fun, Adam," he began gently. "But can I ask you something?" Adam blinked at him. Thomas pointed to the piles. "Do you plan to build something with those mounds?" Adam, blinking in confusion, shook his head. "No, Daddy. I just made them and knocked them down again." "In circles," Thomas nodded. "You know, when we do the same thing, move something only to return it to the same spot, it becomes useless work. It doesn't lead anywhere." Adam frowned. "But I like making the piles." "I know," Thomas replied softly. "And playing is wonderful, but there's a difference between play and repeating something over and over without purpose." Adam tilted his head. He had his father's curiosity. "What should I do instead?" Thomas stood and brushed dust off his jeans. "Let's try building something you can keep." He led Adam to a corner of the yard filled with leftover bricks and timber. "Why don't we build a small raised bed for flowers or vegetables?" he suggested. "Then your work stays. You can water plants and see them grow." Adam's eyes lit up. "Plants that grow? Can I pick things to plant?" Over the next 2 weekends, Thomas helped Adam build wooden frames for a raised garden bed. They hammered, sanded, and placed the bed near the sunniest patch. Adam chose to plant marigolds, basil, tomatoes, and mint. Every morning after that, Adam carried a small watering can to the bed and gently watered each seedling. Thomas watched him crouch beside the planted rows, whispering encouragement to the tiny green shoots. One afternoon, Adam paused and looked at Thomas. "Daddy, I like this. I worked hard, and something stays. It grows." Thomas knelt beside him, warmth in his eyes. "Exactly, son. That's the difference. Your effort has purpose and result." Weeks later, after a steady watering routine and hopeful sprouting, heavy rain came. The soil overflowed, the plants sagged, and the raised bed partly collapsed under the downpour. Adam raced outside to check and saw the tilted frame and mushy mess. He burst into tears. "All that work is ruined now." Thomas came out and held him. "I know it hurts," he said softly. "You poured your care into this. It looks awful now." But Thomas also knew it was a lesson in resilience. It's not finished, just one layer got washed away. This gives us the chance to rebuild stronger. That afternoon, Thomas and Adam took apart the soaked bed, dried the wood, reinforced the structure with extra support, and replanted the seedlings, which had survived beneath the muck. Adam sniffled. "Daddy, I'm scared it might break again." Thomas placed a hand on his shoulder. "It's okay to be scared, but caring work sometimes needs repairs. What matters is that we try again and learn." Over the next months, the garden flourished. Basil leaves filled the air with scent. Marigolds glowed in orange and yellow. Tomatoes ripened, and mint stood tall. Adam harvested the first ripe tomato and held it out to Thomas. "Daddy, look what we made," he said, voice proud. Thomas smiled and said, "You made it happen, son. Not by piling dirt and starting over, but by planting something meaningful." He knelt, gently brushing away a tomato leaf. "This grew because you were persistent, and because you cared more than you repeated." On a quiet evening, Thomas and Adam sat on the steps near their garden bed as the sun set. The sky glowed pink. Adam leaned into his father and asked, "Daddy, why is doing the same thing over and over bad?" Thomas looked at him, smiling warmly. "Not bad, just unhelpful if it leads nowhere. In life, we want our energy to create something lasting, a garden, a skill, kindness, things with purpose. Piling dirt and tearing it down, that's work, but it disappears. Your effort deserves permanence. Adam nodded thoughtfully. I'll remember. Thomas hugged him. That's all I ask. That next morning, Adam climbed out of bed before sunrise. He tiptoed to his father's room and whispered, Daddy, can I plant more plants today? Thomas, half awake but touched, smiled and said yes. They spent the morning building a second raised bed this time for herbs like rosemary and chives. As Adam measured soil layers and pressed seeds into place, Thomas realized how deeply the lesson had taken root. Effort with meaning, even small, is better than endless motion without outcome. Late summer brought a small neighborhood festival. Adam and Thomas carried fresh basil in pots, tomatoes in baskets, and mint sprigs as giveaway tokens. They set up a small table with a sign, Garden Grown by Adam Dad. Neighbors congratulated them, and Adam beamed with pride. He offered visitors sprigs of mint and tiny tomato samples they plucked themselves. His friends asked if he had built the garden just for them. He shook his head. No, I built it for me and Mom and Dad, but now it's ours all. It's worth the work. Thomas winked at him. I'd say it was worth your effort. That night, Thomas tucked Adam into bed and asked him to imagine what they'd do in the garden the next morning. Adam pictured more vegetables or maybe a flower bed for his mother. Thomas said, You see, you're learning purpose in creation. You're learning how to use your time where it matters. Adam yawned and drifted to sleep with a small smile. In the years that followed, the garden became part of the family's routine. Adam, now older, taught his younger sister how to plant seeds. Whenever Adam saw new seedlings sprout, he remembered his father's lesson. Don't labor in circles, but build something that grows. Thomas watched him often, and in the quiet evening light, silently cheered for a son who valued result over repetition.